Hey, everybody. Welcome to day 85 of Reseller Reflections, a day in the life of a full-time reseller supporting her family. It is September 1st, 2024. Welcome to September. Yes. All right. Woo. We did it. I consider summer over now. Let's get into it. It is the 1st of September. We should start seeing things pick up a little bit. This is really exciting. Yeah, so I am all reset to zero here, and I'm going to tell you about that in a second. But first, I want to thank my friends for joining me on the Reset to Zero Challenge. We have Jill of Rusted Truck Relics, Jason Santee Swapper, Shar Fabulous Flamingos, Kathy Sings, Nick Mr. C Chats, Vanessa Brightest Holidays, Judith R, and Pam of Whimsy and Such. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this challenge. Okay, so let's see, where should we start for today? So it is Sunday. So even though tomorrow is a holiday, I'm just going to treat it as a regular working day. And so everything will just go along as scheduled. I am still putting in the work to catch up from the extra vacation I took this year that I hadn't planned for. I was 3 days over. So I'm making up for it now, making up for those 3 days. And that's okay. Today I tried something new with boundaries that I never really did. I had a family picnic to go to that I was invited to, and I knew I really shouldn't go, and I really didn't have the time like I really needed to use today to focus. So I did that, and I just said no. It's like, not like it was a big picnic. Nobody would notice if I was there or not. It would just been nice to spend time. But I knew that I had to make that sacrifice. And normally I just would have been guilted into it and just went. And, I would have had a good time if I was there. But anyway, that's something new I'm working on, is setting those boundaries. When I really can't do something and I don't feel like doing something, I'm no longer going to do it. And that's that. So tried that out. It was a little uncomfortable. I do feel a little bit guilty, but letting it go and moving on, because I'm going to have to start making some more of those choices, what to focus on. So linked up in the show notes is the video that I've been talking about for a week now. And it is Rory Vaden on Lewis Howe's The School of Greatness podcast. And it's like the 7 steps to beat procrastination. It's not really about procrastination. So that's where, we talked about the short-term paradox, like do the hard things in the short term to make it easier in the long term. We talked about number 2, which was how versus should. I've spent a lot of time on the how, and asked you guys to go ahead, do the same, reframe something you're working toward, change it into should, instead of, or transform it into how instead of should. Should I do this? Can I do this? No. How am I going to do this? And as you know, I've done that with my big yearly goal. I'm figuring out how to get there, and it's totally changed everything. So I want you guys to think about that. I want you to put in the comments what your how is going to be, what you're going to figure out how to do, instead of wondering if you can. All right. So we're putting how behind us for now, because I want to move on to number 3. Focus is power. So this is the 3rd concept they talk about in this video. It's just so jam-packed with information. It's also available on podcast if you prefer to listen. So anywhere you get your podcasts, but the YouTube video is linked up in the show notes. Okay, focus is power. All right, we talk about this so much, and it's one thing to say it. It's another thing to do it. And one of the things that they talk about is, like, an overall concept is you really, can't allow your ability to focus be determined by outside factors, outside circumstances, right? We all have those things in our life, those outside circumstances, things that happen, life, right? It's life, right? There's hurdles, there's interruptions, there's all sorts of things, but we really can't allow our ability to focus to be impacted by those things. Like, we have to make a decision, like, this is what I'm going to focus on, and this is how it's going to happen. And outside circumstances are going to happen, but if we plan well and really commit to focus, we can kind of mitigate that. All right, so that's what I'm going to try. Focus is power. And he talks about he has a focus funnel strategy. We might get into that at some later date on reseller reflections here, but you can check that out. I do want to mention that I went a little crazy today. I ordered a bunch of books. I added them to our book club recommended book list, which is linked up in the show notes if you're interested, because I've been mentioning like quite a few books here. And I'm going to be mentioning some. I'm just adding them to our list. I ordered, I think 3 books myself today, because this journey has definitely taken me on that kind of thing. And a lot of this focus is power is tying into the book we did in the book club, which the C Chats book club, which was the pumpkin plan. Really, really focusing and the concept where they say focus is power. Like until you accomplish your goal, until you finish that thing, until you figure out how to get there, that needs to be your primary focus. Everything else he talks about is like you need to be a little obsessive, right, in your focus. Everything else is a distraction until you get to that one thing you're trying to get to, the how, and you do it and you figure it out. Everything else should be considered a distraction. Easier said than done. I get it. It's a good point. I'm really working on that hard, cutting out a lot of things, a lot of extra things I've been doing. Maybe you're thinking about that too. Like, what are those little things? What are those little vines that creep in there? All right. So one of the things that can creep in there and is multiple streams of revenue, right? We hear this a lot. Like you need multiple streams of revenue. And it's something that always drove me a little bit crazy. I think until you get to a certain level, like you really need to master one revenue stream. You need to grow that big pumpkin. You need to really focus in everything on getting that one thing. And, multiple streams of revenue, that's focus dilution. So are there things you can pull out, like really to focus? All right. So we'll be talking about this a little bit. Focus, focus is power. How can you focus better? One of the ways that I'm focusing is I'm only doing my quarterly live. I'm only doing a live sale quarterly now. Let's see what else. I got rid of so much stuff over the past couple of days and really focused in. I added Sunday Reseller Reset. One of the things I do is I put these boulders in my schedule, things that really can't be moved. Like I put these big blocks in. So 5 days a week, I have 3 hours, 3 1-hour chunks of listing time every day, 5 days a week. And those are my giant boulders, right? Because that's what keeps the business running. All right. And that's what makes me money. So as a testament to focus, I'm adding another hour block 5 days a week. So that's 5 more listing hours a week, because that is what makes me money. So I'm putting another boulder in my schedule. And yeah, that's good. But it's going to be a lot, but it is going to cause me to focus. And the good thing is, like, if I have extra time on the weekends, like today I had extra time, what I did was I took some of those boulders off of this week, and I did 4 hours of listing today. And I'll move those boulders around sometimes, just to make my life easier if I have a busy week coming up. But yeah, those are my boulders, 4 hours of listing. And I think that should be enough to get me where I'm going. That's how I'm going to do it. All right. So that's a practical tip. All right. Let's see. What else? Oh, sales. I did my numbers today. Did not meet the sales goal this week. It was like $800 short or something. Like that's fairly significant. Well, let's see. Maybe, yeah, about $700 short this week. And, but putting the work in, it's going to happen. I jokingly said yesterday, like, I'm doing all this work, for 2 days. I've been working like crazy. Where are my sales? Yeah, it doesn't work like that, right? You got to put the it's time, you don't see results immediately, but it feels like you should when you're putting in the work and you're doing all the things, right? You want the immediate results, but it doesn't work like that. So we're just going to have to hang tight. Next week, hopefully, we will hit our sales goal now that people are back from Labor Day. We'll see what happens. And I'm loading up my store, but listing, everything is going well. And yeah, so Pam of Whimsy and Such actually had a great idea at Motivation in Minutes. She said, you know, really, why don't you all pick a number to focus on that you can control, right? We can't always control the sales. We can control what we list. We can control, what the monetary value is of what we list. We can control, how many steps we take in a day. Like pick that number, pick a number. Like don't just base it on your sales, base your number. And I loved this advice on something you can really own that you have control of. Right? You don't always have control of your sales. It's kind of arbitrary sometimes, but you do have control of what you're putting into your store. You do have control of how many steps you're taking in a day, how many glasses of water you're drinking in a day, whatever that number is that you have control over, and focus more on that. Put your primary focus on that because you can be successful that way, and it is in your control. So thanks, Pam. That was awesome advice. All right, everybody, have a great night. And remember, focus is power. So how are you going to focus this week? What are you going to focus on? I'm going to say, how are you going to focus? Because that is combining that how question, like put some concrete things in that schedule and, prove to yourself that you can focus and show the world how you're going to do it. Show yourself how you're going to do it. You don't have to show the world. And you can show me too, because I love the proof. All right, guys, have a great night. Bye-bye.